Hi everyone, I'm Ethan from ASSOC, Eric from ASSOC, and this here is Julian.
Hi everyone.
So, thanks for being here, Julian.
I did the actuarial course here at Macquarie, Bachelor of Economics, back in the day. That was 86 to 88, so I graduated in 1989.
Okay.
So it's getting on 33 years now. It was more of a process of elimination. My father's an actuary as well.
Oh.
But he never really told me what an actuary did. And I had to write off to the Institute of Actuaries to sort of find out information. My mother's a lawyer, was helping me, and I remember, she helped correct my letter when I was drafting it to the Institute of Actuaries, and I'd spelled actuary wrong. So she said, you should at least research enough to actually spell the, so. Well, I was working at Prudential, is they had actuaries that have been working, retiring, they were 65 years old, but they built up processes and procedures, and the basic training I got there was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Really fundamentally, very capable, knowledgeable people. And one thing I learned is building up systems and processes, you take for granted. When it's there, you might curse them. When they don't exist, and I've set up 2 companies from scratch, 2 global companies from scratch. God, it's a lot of work putting it all together, and you really start to appreciate it all. Huge, absolutely huge, yes. Because it takes time to build up the infrastructure and the knowledge and the training and the processes, and a lot of that was missing in Asia. So Australia was far more systematic and rigid in its when you did a mortality analysis, or you did, in Asia it was like, okay, it's about that. In Australia, expense analysis, I'd spend like 3-4 months working on that alone and doing it in immense detail. Asia would be like, you got a week maybe, or 2-3 days. A lot of things done quickly, moving at a very, very fast pace. So it's completely different to the Australian environment. Macquarie University was, at the time, at least for me, a lot easier than the fellowship. I remember thinking, I saw the exam paper and I did the fellowship exam. I thought I nailed it, because every question but I ran out of time.
Oh, no.
And I actually failed it, and it was because I actually spent way too much time going into detail on specific points. I sort of knew too much in a way, rather than trying to be, and this is probably a big lesson, something that I need to communicate a lot to younger actuaries as well. Don't get deep dive. Yes, deep dive is great, but you've got to make sure that you cover the full breadth of possible outcomes first. And certainly when I was marking assignments as well, I'd see that where people get brilliant answers. But sorry, there's only one mark for that particular part. There's actually 5 key points you need to make, and you missed the other 3. So I think certainly for the fellowship exams and going to those, you've got to make sure that you do think very sort of, let's say, holistically, rather than getting too focused in detail. And I've had, over the years, I've employed lots of actuaries, and from all over the world, US and Australia, UK, Asia. And it's amazing. Actuaries are such clever, talented people, and yet the biggest criticism I have when I'm doing their performance reviews, you speak up. You have everybody else speaking up. You know more than everybody else, and you sit there quiet, and you have all these other people just speak up, talk, explain what you're doing, and also take action as well. Don't just sit back. And I think that's what helped me a lot in my career. I remember when I went to Thailand, I was 27 at the time. We had like a 50-year-old guy who was heading up the operations, and a very senior guy, and I think the world of him. But we had a huge problem with our medical portfolio. We're losing about 100 million US a year. And they just want to sit around and talk. Whereas I said, no, this is what we want to do. And then IT said, we couldn't do it. I said, no, don't worry, actuarial department, we'll get in there. We'll extract the data ourselves. We can then identify which agents, causing the problem. Oh. And so the other thing is, speak up and then take action. Just, don't just be a passive person on the journey. Try and you've got to obviously respect your seniors and your colleagues, but you work with them, and teamwork's absolutely critical. Well, it gave the wonderful background. As I say, I had fantastic lecturers who provided a really, really solid background, and very fortunate working at Prudential and the experience of the team there and the training. So from that foundation, you can then go on and take the initiative. It's hard to take the initiative when you don't have a solid foundation. Yeah. So certainly that's what university brought to me. Well, I started another company as well called, was one of the founders, called FWD.
FWD, okay.
Yeah, and so I was employee number 3. We had the HR lady join before me, and we had an M&A guy. This was after the global financial crisis. And I remember looking at the list of, which industries do you want to work at, and I think like used car salesman was here, and then insurance was like, it's like, cockroaches were about 2 or 3, above us. So it was just, back then it was, people, it was thought of so poorly, and in some ways I can't blame people. I became the architect of our vision, which is of FWD, which has changed the way people feel about insurance. One of the first things we did was to strip out all exclusions, basically. So we'll, unless you anti-select against us or commit a crime, that we should pay you. We should pay you, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of exclusions. And I've probably been guilty of this in my prior life, but when we looked at it, because we spent, to do this though, we went through every single exclusion. We said, okay, why is that there? Got the lawyers involved, got reinsurers involved, got actuaries involved. We actually used, KPMG here, Eddie Frizio, who I went to university with. He was one of the people that assisted us, and we went through and said, well, actually, what if we take that out? What are the risks? Well, pretty minimal. You might get possible 1 or 2. And so we went through and we managed to strip out most of the exclusions. Oh, wow. And during the process of reviewing what we'd done, we'd found, like in Hong Kong, we were marketing this, we sort of newly launched this one product where we were covering alternative medicine as well as Western medicine. But we'd copied across the exclusions from the old product. And in there was an exclusions for alternative medicine, even though the headline of the product. And that just goes to show how these exclusions, everything is built up, and why customers start losing, trust with us. Yeah, probably not good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I've retired. I mean, I would certainly. I mean, I always worked pretty hard. I remember used to say, I work 4-day weeks in Prudential because I worked through the night. So one day would be. I remember working once. By the way, a tip to people: make sure you take your shoes off and if you're going to work 30 odd hours straight. Because my skin ended up sticking to my socks like when I peel. You probably want to edit that bit out.
No, we'll give it.
And so, I mean, probably most of my life I've worked, a short week would be 60 hours maybe, very few. Normally 70 hours, 80 hours, sometimes 100 hours. 100 hours would wipe me out though.
Jesus.
I mean, very fair. You can't do too many of those. You're basically working, you're getting up. we work, sometimes you've got, M&A and stuff going, and, have calls to 3 in the morning. So you're just working from 7 to 3 in the morning. And so that was pretty intense. No, I mean, it's a wonderful stepping base. I mean, what we learn as actuaries can be applied to run most businesses anyway. The fundamentals are just brilliant. I can't think of a better. I mean, okay, overlaying with marketing, I think that's useful. Certainly, I've been exposed more and more, and so I've been learning a lot more about marketing over the years. But the combination of actuarial and sort of and marketing and sort of understanding consumer behaviour and things like that are the two most valuable. That financial background. So, it's been a wonderful stepping stone. It allows you to take the initiative on things because you do. certainly insurance companies have a deeper understanding of the drivers of the business than sort of most of the other executives. So who are more sort of because it's just so sort of complex and fundamental to an insurance company. I don't honestly no regrets. I mean, obviously, there's been decisions which I've made where I've screwed up, but you learn from them and you just keep, pick yourself up. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to make decisions. That's the other thing, because they might screw up. To me, that's as long as you are operating on the right fundamental principles, and this is what I'd say to people. So if we're trying to change the way people feel about insurance, last thing we can do is keep doing the same thing, because then we know that we're 100% guaranteed of not changing. So taking some risks, and yes, if you screw up, okay, it's not good, but at least you tried something different. Yep. And you pushed yourself and you learn from that and you get up and rebuild. I mean, at the same time, you shouldn't be negligent in the way you tackle something. You should tackle it in, and this is the same, whatever you do. I mean, you need to go through and analyze the pros and cons of different alternatives and say, look, this might not have tried before, but let's give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, fine, then we just pivot it to something else. So,
Oh, finally it's gone.
Right, okay. I guess it's over.
Alright, well, on that note, thank you, Julian, for being with us today. And yeah, it's amazing to have you here and have you provide us all this insight.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So it's been great talking to you all, and good luck with your career. So I do believe you're in the right profession, so it's a wonderful profession, actually.
That's the